What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sunday preview show by the Hoof Podcast. Sitting here with Anthony, going to get into these week 4 matchups. Here we are, four weeks in, right? It always goes pretty quick, and another good week.
This is what I like to call the "you are who we thought you were" week, right? We're 3 weeks are done. This 4th week, once we see these results, that means you are who you are at this point, right? The things aren't going to change as drastically usually after week 4. The teams that are 1 and 3 are the bad teams, and the teams that are playing well are usually going to maintain that.
Right.
So, you can
start
tell
to see
more
who
about a
too.
team. At least, you have to think about their opponents and things too, right? We know that matters. But you definitely learn the identity of these teams moving
Right.
forward.
Yeah, as the sample size grows, the identities get revealed. I think we're seeing that tonight with the the Lions and the Packers. Right, Lions looking real tonight, and the Green Bay offense is just stuttering. Right, so it's Green Bay
Injury
hot, but seem to be stuttering a little bit. We thought maybe there'd be a few setbacks with Jordan Love out the gate, just because first full-time starter. We haven't really seen him to this point through what's this, his 4th year?
Yeah, where did you pick them? And I picked them to finish. I knew I did not pick Green Bay to do well this season, so
Yeah,
I had Minnesota
I'm pretty
winning
high
the
on
division.
them. Like a lot of people, I think I was high on them just because defense looks good. The offensive line is good for them, but they got to stick to their identity, which is run Aaron Jones. I know he's dealing with injury, but find ways to be an effective run team and then take shots with Jordan Love, right? You can't come out and sling it and try to throw the ball 30 times with Jordan Love. I don't think he's ready for that. Clearly,
Yeah.
It's not working tonight anyway. But
We'll
anyway,
see how it goes. Still a lot of game left, almost halftime currently.
Right.
So as we're recording,
Lions looking good, but some great matchups this week. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins at the Bills, probably the game of the week.
definitely.
Some other divisional matchups. Tampa Bay at New Orleans seems to be a good one. Cincinnati at Tennessee is like secretly a good matchup.
I would agree with that. Yeah. There's
'cause-
some, and then you've got the big headliner of the week, which is the Broncos playing the the Bears.
Yes,
the game nobody wants to watch.
It is interesting. Well, just because the draft class is stacked with quarterbacks,
That's right.
you're like,
They both
okay,
suck.
who's gonna, Jets in the mix? They got Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, so that should be a good one. But which one of these teams is going to get Caleb Williams?
Yeah, it's again week 4. You're already playing the lottery game of who's gonna win the first overall pick.
And it's fascinating because with the NIL and things like that, Caleb Williams is already a star playing at USC. Will he go to Chicago? They're pretty dysfunctional. Chicago's pretty dysfunctional, right?
I mean, that's true. That's true. And the way they've treated Fields hasn't given you a vote of confidence.
They got a defensive head coach. I mean, DJ Moore is the first offensive weapon they've had in the last 2 or 3 years.
So you're saying you think he would choose to stay in college another year if Chicago's the first?
He has that card to play, right? And this he's good enough.
And you're already making money with NIL.
He's already making money. He could pull. He has some leverage, right? And I feel like these other guys, like maybe Drake May, smaller market, they don't have as much leverage. Like Caleb Williams is already a household name, it seems like. So yeah, but where would you go? Okay, you're not going to Chicago. Do you want to go to Denver?
I mean, yeah, you get to play for a coach who has that reputation already, but
good fit, right?
The team hasn't been able to get it together, although it's the first year under Sean Payton, so you expect that there's going to be a lot of changes, and you could build around that guy. So I'd feel pretty good about if they had the first overall pick and we're looking at me, that if I'm Caleb Williams,
Man, Caleb Williams versus Pat Mahomes, that'd be fun for a long time. Twice a year, every year.
Absolutely, yeah. Talk about gunslinging football right there. That's the entertaining type, right? There's no ground and pound in those teams,
right? But yeah, that'll be fascinating to watch. So when we look at these bad games, I always have that in the back of my mind, like, oh, where will Caleb Williams go? Who will end up with the first round pick or the number 1 pick? And I haven't looked at draft order. I don't even know if these teams have first round picks, but that's just in the back of my mind here early in the season. What else we got? You want to jump into it? We got our first London game.
There we go.
And I can't remember how many are on the schedule. I know the Bills play there next week against Jack.
I think there's 3 Europe games, but 2 are in London. Yeah, so this is the first of.
I saw an ad for Miami and Germany.
Yep.
Okay, so and Jacksonville has 2 of the London games.
That's correct. Yeah, that's their home turf though. They play there every year. So now they get 2 games.
Right, and I think Jacksonville's trying to get money from bless you.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, in the middle.
But they're trying to get money for their stadium through I can't remember if it's the state or the county in Jacksonville, the Duval County. And I think one of the storylines I saw was if they don't get the money that they want, they're going to threaten to leave, which is what every NFL team does, right? They use that as leverage. But you've got to think with these extra London games, it's definitely on the slate, right? Or it's on the horizon.
Yeah, they could definitely end up overseas. That would make, travel a little more complicated for sure, and airing of games. If anything, I think that's going to have to be some type of expansion or minor league type situation over in Europe first. But anyway, yeah, every team uses that as leverage, and certainly most of the time the city has no choice but to give in because they know that they're getting all the revenue from said team in the NFL that comes there, and the people who travel there for the games and everything that comes with having an NFL franchise. So I think they'll end up paying up. They always do cave in the end, or the team will move.
Yeah.
And if that's
they'll move like the Raiders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
plenty of other vying cities that will throw out the red carpet.
Right, and I'd say the Chargers situation was a little different. There's 2 teams coming to LA, which is 6 hours from San Diego, so that cuts into their market. So they were almost, in a weird position with that. They had to get that second LA slot, right? So I think that was more of a business move for them. But yeah, it'd be interesting to pay attention to that. But let's get into the game here. We got the Atlanta Falcons at the Jacksonville Jaguars, 9:30 a.m. Eastern in London. Atlanta's +3 at Jacksonville. How we feeling? Jacksonville kind of got embarrassed last week.
Right. Punched in the mouth a little bit by Houston, huh?
And we thought they had the easiest schedule in the league. We thought they were just going to walk through.
I said they'd be the number 1 seed. They're certainly not looking like that now. But this is a bounce back situation for them, right? The Falcons didn't look that great last week, and now they have to go again. The Jaguars, those who have been on the team, are comfortable. They know what this travel is like going to England, and the situation, and the team knows what it's like and how to plan for it. The opponents are at a disadvantage just from that alone. And obviously, I think Jacksonville has a better roster in any way, shape, and form, and has more experience in terms of their winning ways right now than Atlanta, who's still trying to find their way and claw their way to respectable again. So I like Jacksonville to win by more than 3 points. We'll see how those.
Atlanta just does not have a passing game right now. Right. And I think that hurts them. I mean, if they can get in a position where they can run the ball, big lead, something like that, they can play, to their advantage with the run game. But without a passing game, it's going to be tough for Atlanta. Right now, they're 29th in passing offense in the league, only ahead of Tennessee, Chicago, and the Jets. So,
all right, let's not a good place to be.
Next one, game of the week, Miami at Buffalo. We talked about this a lot on the Buffalo Morning Brew. Got into the details of this game, but is this the same Miami team, right? They went to Buffalo last year twice and lost. Again, Tua got hurt in one of those games. The second game was a playoff game. Tua was out. Miami did beat Buffalo last season in Miami.
I was at that game.
Yeah. All the games were great to watch, though. Very competitive.
Right.
It's the defensive mind in McDermott versus the offensive mind in McDaniels. You can tell it's a chess match going on out there. There's a lot of good players on both sides of the ball, so that makes it really fun to watch. And then, the way Tua's playing right now, it's the quarterbacks too, right? That conversation is now here. It could be a
Stephen
duel.
A. Smith said today, made the claim that, Josh Allen is falling down a peg and Miami and Tua are now, moving up above Josh Allen. So
Yeah, what's the
that's
deal with
just
that?
crazy talk. I mean, come on
Yeah.
now. Tua's
Yeah.
respectable. Don't get me wrong. He's started MVP caliber 2 seasons in a row now. That's saying something. But the
Sure.
guy has to stay healthy and has to play the games and has to show he can be consistent and not fail when it counts,
Right.
which is what that team has done, or not be on the field when it counts in
And
Tua's
and
case.
I guess this is just how sports media is. They're so narrow.
Just playing for
It's so
clicks.
nearsighted. It's the most nearsighted thing
I think,
in media.
What frustrates me more though is I am somebody who will go to my grave with my opinions and my thoughts, right? I don't care who you are. I'm going to tell you what I think, right? And that's different. I like that kind of conviction. If you truly believe Tua is a better quarterback, then let's duke it out and have our argument and put our points out there and back it up and have the things to say. But that's nonsense in reality. People, it's okay to say Tua is a respectable quarterback. He's not the level of Josh Allen, not even close. Period. Right. And it's almost the fakeness of the media that I hate. Right. Stephen A knows, okay, I have to say something to get clicks. What can I say? Oh, how about Tua's better than Josh Allen? Right.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
because they know. And this is just one example, right? Just like the Stephon Diggs doesn't want to be in Buffalo bull crap. Right. And that got carried by everybody this offseason. And even after he shut it down, he's like, no, that's nonsense. Like, they still wanted to run with that story. And, oh, there's upheaval in Buffalo. Nobody's happy there because it's all nonsense, right? And I hate it when it comes from a place of just wanting to get clicks and wanting to get attention.
Yeah.
If
But
it's your conviction, absolutely go out there and state it and be bold and, go on TV and do your thing and go on your show and do your thing.
Yeah.
But when you're just saying it to say it, it irritates the crap out of me.
Right. I mean, you've been strong on Baker Mayfield sucks for 5 straight years.
And this is back when, mind you, the only quarterback I did not want us to draft that year was Baker Mayfield. So I was happy we did not get him.
Yeah.
And I said the same thing then I said now. He's a cocky a-hole.
Okay.
I don't want him on my team. I don't think he's going to succeed in the NFL.
He's not that bad.
He is.
Look.
How could you
he's
say
not
that?
the worst quarterback ever. Is he better than Sam Darnold?
No, he's not the worst ever. No, he's not the worst ever. He's still playing, right? But
I don't know if
he was one of the most overrated ever. First overall pick. Get the heck out of here.
I'm guessing when you slept with your girlfriend or something back in the day. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, why? Because I was right about the guy? I mean, come on.
All right, let's get back to this. So Miami at Buffalo. We're both taking Buffalo. It's at home. I'll start. I just think this will be a close game. Comes down to maybe the last drive, but I think the Bills are playing smart this year. They're being, like I said, we talk about Josh Allen being mature, making good decisions, looking like some of the Josh Allen from 2 years ago, right, where he's looked very mature. And I think that the strategy is going to be keep the Miami offense off the field, right? Long drives. The Bills have, they upgraded their running backs this year with Damian Harris, Latavius Murray. I think you can use them to keep drives alive and kill time and limit the time of possession for Miami, force them to throw it deep. And, that's how you got to play. And you might lose that way, but I'm taking Buffalo in a close one.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. I expect this game to be close. Most people have been reaching out to me saying, oh, I bet you think Buffalo's going to win by 20 points or something. Like, listen, this game is going to be respectable. And like you brought up earlier, the matchups have been close lately. This rivalry is back in full force. And it's Miami-Buffalo in the AFC. It is. I love this rivalry.
Because we really don't have hate. I don't have any hate for Miami. It's not like the New England days where there's
Don't get me wrong.
Hate back then.
I mean, yeah, right. They make me roll my eyes more than other teams because, like, when that game I was at where Miami won, they did celebrate down there like they had won the Super Bowl, and I was like, dude, it's week 3. Get a grip. Like, there's a long season. Yeah. We'll see at the end of it, and we saw what happened. We knocked them out of the playoffs.
It's their team's been bad for a while, and they got to be excited. The fan base is pumped.
Sure, they should be.
So disappointed last year when Tua goes down. They almost pull off a playoff victory with a backup quarterback. That would have been epic. So yeah, I understand why the Miami fan base is
They have a lot to be
super
excited about.
happy.
I mean,
Let's
that
not forget,
offense.
like when the Bills beat New England Week 4 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, they stormed the field and tore the goalpost down. You know what I mean? Like let them have their time, right?
Yes,
And Buffalo's the new juggernaut in the division, at least the last few seasons.
yes.
Well, I won't say juggernaut, but they've won the division. You know,
Sure, they're the
they're the
team to beat.
targeted team now, right? So you're gonna get
It's
Miami's
fun.
best shot.
It's fun, and I
And
love watching
yeah,
this kind of football, even though I get angry when they score a touchdown, and I'm still going to be. I expect this game to go back and forth, but if there's going to be a blowout, it's going to be on the side of Buffalo. This is in Buffalo, mind you, right? And our defense is playing very, very well, and Miami hasn't seen this defense yet. And so I'm not predicting a blowout. My final score is 24-20 Buffalo. Or if the Bills end up, getting a little more 31-20 maybe is max, I think. And I still
yeah,
holding Miami to 20 points to me, that's a win, right? And if you keep it under that, that's a dominant performance by your defense. So, yeah, I mean, normally you give up 20 and I'm going to be like, okay, you screwed up a few times. And yeah, um, we know our offense can score more than that in a typical game. And in this game, it's just going to mean more, right? Because that Miami's capable of coming back from anything and scoring quickly, and with the
right.
speed that they have, especially the Bills' defensive line is where it's all at. Like you said, they have to get pressure, they have to get into his face, they got to keep their hands up. It's football, right? You could say this about any team. You win on that line, you're going to win the game,
Right.
and Tua's been getting the ball out quick, yes, but our defense has been getting pressure with 4. And if you can do that and drop back
Yeah.
and
Well, it's gonna be
play the
tough
guys you
against
need
Miami
to,
because that quick release, right?
yes,
They only have 1 sack allowed in the season so far. But, if you're effective with the front 4, you can drop 7, and you have to do that against these wide receivers, and maybe you can cause confusion, right? McDermott, he's good at disguise, right? This team's really
correct.
experienced in the secondary, like, they're good at disguise, so that's likely the game plan if I'm Sean McDermott. But we'll definitely be watching to see what he comes up with.
And the thing I do admire about Miami and their coach, they're not afraid to do anything, right? Like McDermott is fairly conservative for the most part, right? Not that he is too conservative or anything, but he's fairly conservative, I would say. Which can be a good thing in times, but Miami is not. Like they're not afraid to go for the jugular, to do something crazy, to pull out something, fake punt or whatever. Like they'll do anything.
Yeah,
So you got to be on your toes with this team. And I think, as long as you do that and you're prepared for the speed and have the right McDermott's game plan has been on point every single game this year. So
right,
I think that continues here, and it's just a matter of, like we said, limiting that
right.
offense and playing your
Yeah,
style. Controlling the ball on offense is going to be important too,
yeah.
because Miami,
McDermott they haven't faced anybody formidable,
right,
right? You're
right,
talking bottom quarterbacks to this point, and that's no fault of Sean McDermott. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, right? So you've had Zach Wilson, you've had Sam Howell, and who's week 2?
Jimmy Garoppolo, yeah.
Jimmy
So,
Garoppolo, right?
but
So
I would counter that with the same thing with the Miami defense. Right? Miami's defense has given up 20 points to the Broncos, right? Even though they won
right.
that game by 50,
Yeah,
they
the
still gave
Broncos
up 20.
average like 15 points a game, right? So
Yeah, right. So I mean,
yeah,
and they haven't played an offense even remotely close to the Bills. I mean, New England, come on, that's not a formidable offense. They have a good defense, but they're
sure.
not a
That's a good
formidable
point.
offense. So the Bills' offense being able to control the ball, being able to score quickly as well, could set the tone, set the pulse early. I would love to see a 10-minute opening drive, score the touchdown, kick it back to them, make them 3 and out, come back and at least get a field goal. You already are in their heads. Like you go through a whole quarter, you score on 2 drives and you stop them on 1. That would be absolutely ideal start to the game, because now you're in their heads about control, right? Controlling the tone of the game.
Yeah. And you know, Denver is actually averaging 23 points a game, but I remember last year was like 16 or something like that. It was
Yeah, it was
horrible.
really bad.
So yeah, that's carried over to this year. So I gotta let that go. But all right, let's move on to the next one here. Definitely looking forward to the Bills game. More on that next week. We'll recap the game and everything Tuesday evening going into Wednesday. All right, so we have the Steelers at the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud looking pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's -3 at Houston. We're split on this one. I took Pittsburgh. You're on Houston. You've been high on Houston for a while now.
I
So
have.
why
Every
don't you
week I
go
talk
first?
about them. Yeah, I mean, I look at this as both ways, right? Houston, in my book, and they proved it last week in playing Jacksonville, is moving up a notch, right? CJ Stroud looks like the quarterback people expected him to be. They have what I would call quote unquote veteran weapons, right? Brevin Jordan, my guy from the draft, he got a touchdown last week. And this is the year I said that he would start to produce if he was drafted. Longtime listeners of the Hoof will know that he was my draft crush that year. And I said it would take him a few years to develop. He's a tight end, but I wanted Buffalo to get him in the later rounds. He was not an early round pick by any means, but he got a touchdown last week. You've got Nico, right? Nico Collins. You've got Tank Dell there now, right? They have the weapons. They've got a great team that's ready to grow and win games, right? That being said, the Steelers, I think, are the opposite. They're supposed to be this consistent team. They can't run the ball. Their pass catchers have looked terrible. All this hype for their quarterback, who hasn't been able to get it done. Their defense is legit. Like, nobody's going to question that. Their defense is legit. However, I still think I give Houston the edge. Houston might win this game again, but with the points, I'm definitely taking Houston +3. So I think they could win it.
Okay, and I'm going the Steelers just because the Pittsburgh defense, right? TJ Watt, they got their front guys are great. So it's CJ Stroud, inexperienced again. We've seen him have poise. He's making incredible decisions, make good throws, but the Pittsburgh defense is different, right? So I historically have trusted the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and I think CJ Stroud has a bad day. All right, here we go. Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. Baltimore is +3 at Cleveland. Cleveland could be the surprise team this year, right? Hate to see Nick Chubb go down, but again, Deshaun Watson bringing a little bit of life to the offense, right? If that can continue and they can continue to get better on offense, I think Cleveland's could be a contender this year. What do you think?
I love their defense. Is that an answer? Yeah. So I really like Cleveland's defense. We talked in the preseason how well balanced this team is. Roster top to bottom, one of the top 5 in the NFL, I would say, when you look at all their starters on both sides of the ball. They've dealt with some injuries. Obviously, you lose your best player in Nick Chubb on offense. That is going to hurt you regardless of anything. What I love, and the reason I'm taking Baltimore +3 in this game, is this is a divisional matchup. These are always hard-fought games. These are always tough games. Baltimore has not had the start of the season that they were hoping for. Certainly Cleveland hasn't either, with losing Chubb and the way things have gone in their games. It's going to be a tough, grinded-out game here. I fully expect that Baltimore has not gotten their offense going the way they want. Cleveland's defense is clicking. I think I expect Cleveland to win, but by less than 3 points. So I'm taking Baltimore with the points in this one, although I think Baltimore could well win it as well, because they have been, at least in my book, getting closer to what they want the offense to be. And Cleveland's offense is not quite there.
Sure.
Love their defense, though.
Yeah.
Their defense could win it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Cleveland defense currently allowing the least points per game so far this year through 3 games at 10.7. The Bills are number 2.
My most owned defense in fantasy, by the way, was the Cleveland defense, because
there you go.
I like being one of the last people to pick defenses, and they were always there. So I said, yeah, I'll definitely take them.
Yeah, and then Cleveland, middle of the road on offense. Like I said, if they can continue to get better, continue to build every week on that, yeah, I think they got a shot to win the division. I don't think that's crazy talk right now, but it's early. It's early. I'm not going to get carried away.
All of that division is wide open, and we knew that going from the preseason, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It can go a lot of different ways. But all right, let's move on to the next one here. We got the LA Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. Colts coming off a big win over the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think anybody thought they'd beat the Ravens, but they pulled it off, right?
They did.
And the Rams are +1, and they're at Indianapolis. We're both picking the Rams here, and basically
I mean, we got to see the Rams in full action last week, and I really liked what I saw out of that team. They're young, they're scrappy. Matthew Stafford is an excellent leader. He was zinging the ball. You know, a lot of people wrote him off for dead after the injury, but he looks great. And just wait till Cooper Kupp comes back. That team might actually be a threat. You know, and they're playing an inferior opponent in Indy in most facets, I would say. And I think they capitalize on that, and they end up getting the W here, and they're getting a point. You know, it's basically a pick 'em, but I like how it ends up here for LA.
Yeah, and Matt Stafford, 4th in the league in passing yards, only 2 touchdowns on the season so far, 4 interceptions.
But I'm telling you, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think this inexperienced receiving core. He's missing Cooper Kupp right now.
A lot of the guys, they're coming off their fingertips and things.
Yeah, they're so young. I think 2 of them are rookies, if I remember right.
Yep.
Just not a lot going. They trade Cam Akers away. I mean, just seems like kind of a rebuild for them, and he's kind of carrying the team. But they're explosive, though. And Sean McVay, you know, he can call the right plays, and I think they can move the ball up and down the field. And look, the Colts defense has been formidable through 3 weeks. But again, just Gardner Minshew, I think they're limited on offense. So I'll take the Rams in a close one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is Richardson coming back for this one?
Good question.
Yeah, he's still questionable, I think. But if he's available, I think they play him. So that would be advantage LA in my book as well.
Yeah, good point. I mean, he's one of those guys that can just make plays and you can win a game that you weren't supposed to, right? And I'm not saying that they weren't supposed to beat the Rams. I think basically this is a toss-up game. But yeah, Richardson I think is a huge upgrade, even with his inexperience over Minshew, just because the guy can throw the ball 70 yards easily. He can run. I mean, it's just a lot to handle. So if he's playing, yeah, that definitely helps the Colts, but I'd still take the Rams in a close one. All right, next one here. Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. Buccaneers are plus 3.5 at New Orleans. Buccaneers kind of got beat up last week. And then, Derek Carr out for the New Orleans Saints.
Likely
gotta say,
they
like,
haven't
is this
completely ruled him out, but he's likely not going to play.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's shoulder, I think is what it was, right? So you said Jameis Winston starting. Is he the backup for New Orleans?
Yes, right? Like, I believe so. Still, yeah, he didn't go anywhere. Let's double check that. But yeah, I mean, I really like the Saints here. Don't forget, Alvin Kamara is coming back. He's going to be the focal point of this team, not the quarterback. You know, they had a good run game. Now it gets even better with Alvin Kamara coming back. Tampa looked like the team that I predicted they would be last week. So
it is Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
He's still there. He didn't go anywhere.
That'll be fun, though, because there was a time when Jameis Winston was supposed to be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, right? And it kind of didn't work out that way.
That's right.
So that'll be interesting to see if he can, does he still have it? Because the guy can throw the ball over the field. It's just
what I like about it is he knows the offense. He has chemistry with some of the guys who have been there. Michael Thomas is still their number one wide receiver.
Like you said, Kamara's big, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I think, very productive on offense, and Tampa's defense looks terrible. So I do like this game, regardless of who's playing quarterback for the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going Tampa. I just think it's like another close game, divisional game, and it's a bounce back league. The Buccaneers got embarrassed last week, so I think they bounce back and play a tough game in New Orleans and get the win.
Who on that team is worth rooting for? I don't know how you pick Tampa.
Mike Williams, Chris Godwin,
the wide receivers. Who's throwing them the ball? Come on now.
Look, okay, I don't know who. Baker slept with one of your girlfriends a long time ago, or something. I don't know, there's some personal thing going on that you haven't explained.
No, it's just he's that bad. I'm telling you.
We know that, though. He's
done this everywhere. So why are you picking Tampa? It makes no sense to pick Tampa against New Orleans.
Win a game. And New Orleans has a backup quarterback starting.
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm telling you. I just explained that their offense is going to be electric. If you or I was playing quarterback, we could hand the ball off to those guys, and they would still beat that Tampa defense, which isn't very good. And that New Orleans defense is good, too. playing an inferior offense. They can't run the ball. You do have to cover their two good wide receivers. I don't know how anybody picks Tampa there. I'm sorry.
I mean,
so
it's
winner,
fine,
loser. That's all there is to it. I'm telling.
I mean, you got to play the game, and I think if Tampa can limit their mistakes, they can win. They can win.
That we disagree. We disagree. I don't know what else to say there.
Look, you don't think Jameis Winston's going to throw a couple picks? You think he's going to have a mistake-free football game?
Jameis Winston?
Winston, yeah.
He'll make a mistake. He always, that's his nature. But he's also going to bomb it for 50 yards, touchdown. Like you're going to get the good with the bad. But that's the thing. You limit his touching the ball because you have the running backs. You have dynamic there. You let him dump it off to the guys in space who are going to make plays and limit him, and then your team's going to win and let the defense do what they do. So this is one
same exact argument can be said for Tampa Bay.
No, it can't. They don't have a good defense. Their defense is trash. That's the problem. New Orleans offense good.
Came out there 2-0.
Tampa Bay defense trash. What do you?
All right. Well, I'm not going to take the time to look up the Tampa Bay defense's stats right now. We're just going to move on to the even worse game. We're going to go to the Denver Broncos. At way the more exciting,
Bears. People.
Denver's -3.5 at Chicago. I don't even know where to begin. The team that gets beat out by 70, or not 70, it was 50.
The clown music.
Yeah, they got beat out by
they
70.
only lost by 50. Okay, that's not good.
Yeah. And then the Bears, who it just feels like everything's falling apart for the Bears, right?
The sky is falling. Yeah.
You've completely lost faith in the quarterback.
I did get
3 weeks of football.
I did get to watch a little bit of the Bears game. Was on TV before there was a blowout here in Syracuse.
Right.
And let me tell you, I felt so bad for Justin Fields. It is not his fault. I watched 2 series that were like, dude, he just put the ball on the money to the receiver, guy didn't catch it. And I'm like, what? Like, that was a good this guy deserves another chance with the team. That's what I said. Justin Fields definitely deserves another chance with another team that is willing to work with him and that has hands.
Sure. And so you're going the coordinator's the problem.
Yeah, what? Yes. No, I don't know who's the problem. Everything's the problem there. It's definitely not the player. The wide receivers weren't catching the passes, man. And then the very next play, what happens? He zings it. It's tipped, intercepted. All the box score says is 0 for 2 with an interception. And that makes
I've watched Justin Fields, and look, the guy he hesitates way too much. He's not confident throwing the football.
But that's something you're supposed to work on with him.
Sure,
I put that on the quarterback.
Yeah. That's what everyone's waiting to see from him is, are you going to get more confident? We know he has the ability, but it's always one read, it's not there, or the window's too tight, and then run, which has been effective for them. It was effective last year. But you got to be a confident thrower in the NFL. Look, the tight windows are open in the NFL, and you got to be able to make those throws. Justin Fields hasn't shown that consistently.
Agreed. And that, again,
and some of it probably is coaching too.
That team is imploding within themselves.
Yeah.
You can make the argument that Denver had obviously the worst performance by a defense in the NFL in a long time.
They're embarrassed.
But I don't think that team is quite at the stage of implosion as Chicago is right now, right? They kind of knew, new coach. Okay, we weren't that good last year either. Okay, what's going on for real? By the way, the image, that is incorrect. I am not picking the Bears. I'm on Denver -3.5. I think Denver wins this game by a touchdown or more because Chicago is that bad of a state.
Yeah.
And Denver knows they just got punched in the mouth and has to come back from that kind of embarrassment. So I think they end up winning by 7 to 10 points. Chicago doesn't have the ability to, though. Denver at least has the ability to do so. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They have.
I feel like Chicago's defense can play well at times. This is a home game. Like you said, they're imploding. They need some sort of help. They have a defensive head coach. Could this be the week where we see something from them, right? That's why I picked the Bears we'll switch you. You're
This
on.
is
You're on
this
the
is one of my
Broncos.
pick six, by the way. I'm taking Denver
All right.
-3.5. So that is one of my pick six. It's
Yeah.
number 6. Don't get me wrong. It might not be an entertaining game, but certainly placing a wager is one way to have some
Yeah.
investment in
And the
this game.
Broncos, they have scored more points this year, but they gotta be more consistent. I feel like they just don't they don't put up a lot of points unless it's garbage time. You know what I mean? So just again, we're spending way too much time talking about this game. But I'm going Bears, you're going Broncos. We'll agree to
Hey,
disagree.
it's a close one.
And
That's
we're moving on. All right. So Washington at the Philadelphia Eagles, another divisional game here. Washington plus 8.5 at Philadelphia.
Yeah, this is
anything to discuss here about Washington having a chance?
Washington has a chance to lose by less than 8.5. Sure, I would have that conversation. This is a divisional rival, right? So they know each other well. But Washington's defensive line, we know how good they can be. They didn't show that versus Buffalo, but they're capable.
Right.
And I Philly is just one of the best teams in the NFL,
Yeah.
and we know that. And I think Washington is showing who they are just as a, I don't know, from top to bottom, disarray franchise at this point. And I think Philly handles them. So I'm taking Philly -8.5.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun game to watch because both defensive lines are they're very dominant, right? They got depth on both sides.
Lots of pressure coming, that's for sure.
But I just feel like Jalen Hurts is going to be able to move the ball on them. They can just come at you in all different ways. DeAndre Swift is looking pretty good, looking like a good pickup for Philadelphia.
Right, and
whereas Washington hasn't really got the running game going like we thought they would. You can rely on Brian Robinson Jr. You can rely on Antonio Gibson, but we just haven't seen that to this point.
They should be.
So I just feel like Philadelphia's rolling. They were 9-0 last year before they lost a game. So I think we're looking at that same mentality from them. And I don't know who's going to slow them down at this point. I don't think it's going to be Washington. So if you are picking Washington, it's definitely the points. It could be this 8.5 could be the total points of the game. Right.
Yeah, that's I expect the Philly offense to take advantage of the cornerbacks of Washington and score some points that way. So I do think they'll put up points, but yeah, I'm not expecting this to be this isn't Miami Buffalo. This isn't a shootout. This isn't two quarterbacks gonna light it up here, right? It's gonna be more about the pass pressure.
For sure. Advantage Eagles. All right, so the Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. Cincinnati gets their first win last week. Cincinnati -2.5 at Tennessee. This could be one of those sneaky games where Tennessee just kind of shows up. They're kind of that team, right? They'll disappear for a while, then they'll show up for a game. Probably because their coach is, really good and Vrabel. But Ryan Tannehill just not really doing much this year when his job's on the line.
Yeah.
I think he knows it. It just seems like he's kind of not into it or quitting,
I mean, they won. So, I mean, he's getting a win at least, but and their run game last week, I mean, what did Henry have? 20 yards? I mean, it was really bad for Tennessee.
It's a one-dimensional offense right now.
And you definitely don't want to put the ball in Tannehill's hands. And I think, like we've discussed in the preseason as well, there's an imminent change coming. It's just a matter of how soon that happens with the benching of Tannehill and going with one of the younger guys. But the Bengals, this is their opportunity to get it together and bounce back. The Tennessee defense has been better than I expected it to be, at least probably most expected it to be. And I think that means that I'm not expecting the Bengals to score a bunch of points to all of a sudden look like the team we thought they were going to be coming into this year. But this could be an opportunity for Burrow and friends and the whole offense really to get things moving in the right direction again, at least. I'm not expecting him to have a perfect game or throw for 4 touchdowns, but a win in a good performance, clean it up a little bit, get some production against a team that you should beat. And that's why I'm on the Bengals -2.5. I definitely think they can win by at least a field goal, if not, more like a touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ryan Tannehill is 28th in the league in passing yards, only 1 touchdown passing on the season so far. The Tennessee Titans passing defense is 28th currently, through 3 weeks, and their rushing defense is 4th. When you're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, you want that to be flipped, I feel like. So I think the Bengals are finding their mojo, right? They start slow every single year. And I think it's going to be they're all in now. And I think you're going to see the Cincinnati that we're used to seeing, right? And I think that happens week 3 every year. 0-2 last year, 0-2 this year. All right, next game we have the
passing
Minnesota
touchdown by Green Bay, Christian Watson. So,
my man.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, can we 2 seconds to drool over Christian Watson?
They put together a drive, and he got
6'5",
wide open in the
4-3. They just don't. They don't make humans that way.
Well,
anyway,
we can stay healthy.
Yeah, always been a fan of him. All right, so that helps the fantasy team. But let's go Minnesota at the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young, I saw was questionable. Not sure if he's going to be playing, but that would be a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, Andy Dalton or Bryce Young at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's
about the same.
Yes, you want if you're Carolina, you want the young guy out there, right? You want Bryce Young to continue to grow and develop in live action games that ultimately don't truly matter for your franchise at this point. And Minnesota is the reason I'm on Minnesota -3.5 here. I mean, this is the opportunity they need. They need to get a win. They need to get that offense clicking again. And this is the game to do that against Carolina. Carolina has a decent defense. Don't get me wrong. They're not going to allow 40 points just because. But Minnesota, they have been in close games every single week. And now it's the coin has turned to the other side since last season when they were the cardiac cats and coming back in the fourth quarter and had 8 wins in the fourth quarter in the first 10 weeks or whatever it was.
Right. They had a great season, yeah.
Now they're over because they have been struggling.
They lost their magic, right?
With those last drives that matter.
And that's dangerous with team chemistry. If when you start, I feel like last year the team believed that they could come back and win games, and you saw it. You saw that chemistry throughout the whole season. It lasted a long time. But that type of magic can disappear just like that. And I think that's kind of what Minnesota's going through is they've kind of lost their, I want to say magic, but their belief that they are a comeback team or they are an underdog team, right? So, yeah, when it comes down to it, they don't make the plays they need to make. They're making mistakes.
Last week was embarrassing for them. They had 2 opportunities in the red zone at the end of the game. You have got to win. Actually, the first time I thought they should have kicked the field goal because they were only down 6 or something like that. And I'm like, why would they kick the field goal? There's still 3 minutes left. They got all the timeouts. And they ended up getting the ball back, but they had to score a touchdown on that drive. And they had it all the way down to, 4th down and intercepted, right? And in the red zone, in the end zone to end the game. Not the way you want to end the game, for sure. But just so many opportunities not capitalized on. And again, that's why I feel like facing a little more of an inferior opponent, you have to capitalize and make a statement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds crazy at week 4, but this has got to be a must-win for Minnesota, right?
Absolutely must-win for them.
Like we talked about with rookie quarterback, and we've been through this as Bills fans when Josh Allen was a rookie. Wins and losses don't matter. Just is the kid getting better every week, right? And that's what Carolina's playing right now. They're not necessarily coming out and trying to win games. I mean, obviously you are, but really it's more about is Bryce Young getting more comfortable, and the wins will come. You know what I mean? Get the guy up to speed. But
precisely. And I do like Carolina's weapons, by the way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Thielen it put up quite the good fantasy production last week, but he's a reliable target there. And for whoever's playing quarterback, right? And DJ Chark is there. And, they have the ability to be productive on offense and maybe hang with Minnesota. But I still expect Minnesota to win by a touchdown.
Right. Yeah, and to finish my point, it was Carolina didn't have any expectations. Minnesota had a ton of expectations. So they it's 2 different mentalities, and Minnesota has to win this game for that reason.
Must win, or definitely for that.
Season's going to be over real quick. If you go 0-4, now the Justin Jefferson rumors start flying. I heard one this week.
Yeah,
it'll get worse. Stupid. If they don't win
it's only
the next few weeks, it'll get worse. Anyway. Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Las Vegas is -5.5 at LA. We're both on the Chargers. And like we said, through 3 weeks, you get a bigger sample size. Starting to see that the Raiders are frauds.
Yeah.
We're seeing it,
Yeah.
right? You have Josh Jacobs, who was the leading rusher
I
last
know
year.
it's
You can't even get a yard with the guy. What
I
happened?
I don't know if it's
Well,
the
teams are
offensive line
forcing
or
Jimmy G to throw deep, and he's just not beating them,
yeah, they just,
you know?
maybe whatever they did to him last year just burned him out and now he can't even he looks completely opposite of what he was. So I mean, yeah, it's bad for the Raiders. Two of the best players at their positions in football on offense in running back and wide receiver, premier positions, and you just haven't been able to make it work. So I mean, it's bad. And yeah, I mean, I'm on the Chargers. This you could make the same argument for the Chargers that they need a win, that they haven't had the start
Yeah,
to the season they wanted. And this is a game where you cannot afford to lose to a division rival that you are better than, right? I mean, the Mike Williams out for the season injury that hurts, but those guys should be able to step up. Palmer, he has played with this team for years too. They have the veterans to make plays there. Um, yeah, so if the Chargers don't win by at least a touchdown, it's going to be a disappointment. They cannot
for
let the
sure.
Raiders hang.
Yeah, it's the Chargers defense, right? We got to see more consistency from them. Currently, the Chargers are second in points for in the AFC, but they're also second in points allowed,
Yeah,
right? So that tells the whole story about the Chargers. But yeah,
yeah,
like you said,
no,
inferior opponent. It's a divisional game. It's going to be important down the road. I picked the Chargers to be a playoff team and be in contention for the division.
and I mean,
So
the
this is the
Chargers
game you got to
also
win.
have some internal things going on with putting the cornerback Jackson inactive this week, week 3, out of nowhere, right? It was like, huh?
Mhm.
Wow, that's a shocker. He was a healthy scratch, and apparently he wasn't given an explanation. And he says, like, "Oh, I came
Oh
back from my
boy,
injury. I've been playing well." Don't forget, he was a highly paid
sure.
free agent 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
you
So I
need
mean,
him.
that's
You need him.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy not to have him inactive. It's one thing to
Right.
say like, we don't think you're where you're at recovering from the injury or whatever. We got to work on some stuff.
Could be
But they just
conservative. It's early in the year.
healthy scratched him, and
Yeah.
he was not, and he's expressed frustration for it,
Yeah.
which is not
And
good
I think
for
that's
the
the
locker
concerning
room.
part. Or
Yeah,
like if you healthy scratch somebody this early in the season, you're like, okay, not a big deal, right? Trying to rest, trying to maybe get a head start on the next team. But when there's frustration in the media or whatever, you saw that Twitter, the news, whatever, that's when there's a disagreement going on, and that's concerning, especially when the Chargers defense is being criticized, the coach is being criticized. Yeah, that's concerning for sure. And yeah, one more point to the Chargers. Mike Williams out for the year, ACL. Hate to see it. Love watching
yeah,
Mike Williams, one of my favorite receivers, just because of his physicality, but just can't get over the injury bug. So yeah, Chargers need Josh Palmer or Quentin Johnson to step up. So that'd be really fun to watch, see which one of those two guys contributes. And for the Raiders, I don't even know we're not even going to get into that because
it's a mess.
it's
I don't
just
know.
it's Josh McDaniels, man.
That was
Everywhere he
what I
goes,
predicted, though.
just
Yeah, him and
not good,
Jimmy G is. I mean, yeah,
not
you
good.
invested in the wrong things.
Well, it's he's playing a 2008 offense. It's like everyone knows the offense that you're running, man. You've been doing it for
Got to be
20 some
creative,
years. It's like
right?
you gotta evolve a little bit. Like I watch them and I see Josh Jacobs do some of the stuff I recognize from the Patriots back in like 09. The delayed handoffs, the little screen plays. It's like the NFL's figured that stuff out. Let it go. Anyway, personal frustration there. Anyway, Patriots at the Dallas Cowboys. Another great matchup on the week. New England +7 at Dallas.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that a little high? That seemed a little high to
That
you?
I was gonna say, the graphic is wrong again. I'm picking New England with the points. I think Dallas wins the game, but I do think 7 points is too high.
Yeah.
I think they lose, by 3, 4 points, but 7
Yeah.
is too generous for the New England defense being what it is, and what we saw from Dallas's offense. Meh, that made me want to vomit, man. I
Mhm.
mean, they were running the ball down by more than 2 scores because they didn't trust Dak to throw, and then he throws an interception on the one throw they do
Mhm.
call, and it was doo-doo. So that was the right thing to say there. I mean, it doesn't get more
Yeah.
embarrassing for
Well,
Dallas than
that's
that,
that's the story
obviously.
with Dak, right? You see highs, and you're like, "Wow, this guy could be really good. This team could win a playoff game." But then you see these down games with Dak where he makes just stupid mistakes. And that's just his game at this point. We've seen it year
It
in
was
and year out. You just have to accept that's his game, and that's what you got to live with. As far as the graphics go, we do these together.
That's right. I don't know
So
how we got this one wrong. But
just don't blame
this
the
is one of
graphics
my
guy.
pick 6 games. So that's again, I'm taking New England with the points because I do think 7 is too much. I expect Dallas to win at home.
I'll stay with Dallas with the points just because that New England offense against the really fast defensive line that Dallas has, that's going to be a nightmare for them. That seems like a huge mismatch. Micah Parsons and that offensive line with New England we've seen struggle. Mac Jones is not mobile. It's going to be a long day for them. What are you going to do? Throw screens all day?
We'll see. I mean, they have to, they have to do something and run the ball. Maybe. I mean, that you pick your poison there. But we saw that Arizona was able to do it effectively. They looked really good. So
Sure, yeah. But this is a home game for Dallas, so I think Dallas wins big in this one. 2 scores.
Okay.
All right, Arizona at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers arguably the hottest team in the NFL.
Arizona 3-0 against the spread, man. 3-0 against the spread in dominant fashion against the spread.
Plus 14 at San Francisco. I mean, that's a huge line.
It is, and I always say, right, be wary of anything over 10 and 10 and over. But San Francisco to me is one of the best teams in football, one of the most well-balanced, one of the best led. I mean, you name it. They got one of the best players in Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy, the, Superman out there. He's just does nothing but win so far. This isn't going to be the game they lose. And I just feel like they're going to dominate it top to bottom. And Arizona is going to look more like the team that we expected them to be, one of the worst rosters in the NFL. And San Francisco is going to be dominant on both sides of the ball. You give Arizona credit though, man. Dobbs has looked like he deserves a chance at a starting job somewhere, right? Like, or at least a legitimate backup role where you're like, oh, we're not as confident in our starters, so we'd like to get you to come here. So give him props where he's due because he's looked good for this Arizona team in all 3 games, really.
Yeah, I just want to talk about Arizona's PR department real quick because I think they're tanking the team here. We saw the video clip of what's their coach's name again? Gannon. I forget his first name.
I don't know. Yeah, it's so bad.
But they pieced together things where he's asking the players or trying to motivate the players, like who rode the bus, who rode the car, whatever. But like it wasn't one conversation. They cut it up and put it together, so it sounded like one conversation. And people who watch the video are like, "What the hell's this guy's deal?" Right? So that's mistake number 1. Number 2, I watched a clip. Josh Dobbs goes to the Arizona Cardinals store and he tries to find his jersey to buy his family, and they don't even have his jersey. So they have this machine where you can have a custom jersey made, and he wasn't even listed as a person you can make a jersey on the custom. So, like, just what do you?
I mean, that's bad. I mean, it was a last minute move, but they should still have been. I mean, come on. Like, that's your quarterback.
Yeah. So
come on.
He's the
and
starting
he's playing
quarterback.
Well, and he's playing well.
But this is why, like, look, franchise isn't committed to him. San Francisco by 30.
Yes.
All right, we got our huge Sunday night matchup. Showdown of 2 quarterbacks. Live on NBC with Chris Collinsworth. This is going to be really fun. Kansas City and Taylor Swift at the New York Jets, led by Zach Wilson. Maybe Trevor Siemian. Probably not yet. Kansas City minus 9.5 at the Jets. Okay, well, let's just talk about this. What's the Jets' strategy in this game? What would your approach be if you're the offensive coordinator, or let's just say you're the head coach?
I mean, are we talking about to get Taylor Swift's attention? I assume that's what you meant.
I mean, that's what I would do, but
so I mean, you got to at least send something up to the booth to say, hey, we're glad you're here in our stadium, and we appreciate everything you've done for the world and your presence. Because on the football field, they have no chance, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. Not with every other best player in the NFL would I pick the Zach Wilson-led team to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, right? Like and Coach Reed and the Chiefs, right? I don't care. You can put the worst players with them and Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, and the best players with Zach Wilson, and I will gladly take the team with the two that are better, right? So
it's kind of a
you're
shame
the offensive coordinator. You're
yeah.
just breaking stuff over and over again.
Well,
If you're,
that's right. Yeah.
you
That's
can't.
right.
There's nothing you can call to help this team.
Yeah. It's super frustrating because we've all seen how talented Zach Wilson is when there's no defense on the field. Right? The guy has arm talent. He's mobile. He's got the look of a American blonde-haired kid quarterback. You know what I mean? But when the defenses are on the field, he just not confident, makes dumb mistakes. I feel like he probably knows the offense, but just doesn't execute it. So it's extremely sloppy, right?
Yeah.
But then, okay, so we have that problem. But then Delvin Cook's getting like negative fantasy points a week. It's Delvin Cook, man. You got to be able to find a way to get him in space.
It's just that teams know you can't throw the ball, so your run game becomes
keen on the run game. But then you have Garrett Wilson. Dude, I don't understand.
But you can't get him the ball. I mean, it just sucks.
And I understand that Zach Wilson's struggling, and he's probably the person to blame. But we got to start looking at Nathaniel Hackett here. This is now 2 years in a row where you're just killing offenses.
He's garbage. I mean,
lowest points per game last year with the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson.
He was
this year, no answers at all.
He was brought in because he's best friends with Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, that's the only reason they hired him. So now that he's actually got to run an offense minus Aaron Rodgers, he can't do it.
Right. But you got to figure something out. I mean, I feel like even with Zach Wilson struggling, you should be able to find a way to make a few plays here and there. Just haven't seen it. Delvin Cook's getting 2 yards a week. Like that. There's no excuse for that.
Kansas City getting 2 weeks in a row where they've got the softest matchups here. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think Kelsey's confidence at an all-time high.
As it should be,
right?
He's definitely way out of his league there.
Yeah,
I cannot wait for the breakup. Let me tell you, I cannot wait for the breakup because
that'd be nice if it came around playoff.
It's going to be epic. Nice. Oh, it's going to be epic. Those Swifties are going to tear him apart, and I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a dangerous world. Swifties can be crazy. All right, last one, Monday Night Football. Seattle Seahawks at the New York Giants. Seattle +1 at New York. Pick'em game. Looks like we're split on this one, unless you changed your mind.
No, this is this is definitely one of my pick six. I've been, bragging about this Seattle offense all season so far, right? And it's I love their weapons. I love their running backs. I love their wide receivers. I think that they can get a lot done on the offensive side of the ball. The Giants are, Saquon's injured. We don't know his status yet, but likely not to play. There's so much going on with the Giants still trying to build momentum back to the direction that they were last year. And Seattle, it definitely had both high expectations coming in for both of these teams. Seattle has the pieces to continue winning and continue building. The Giants are still in the state of, are they not who we thought they were last year, even though they brought in these other weapons and they have better pieces on the offensive line and receivers to catch the ball? Yeah, so it's definitely I see why the line is so close, but I still like Seattle to win the game. So the fact that they're getting points to me is an egregious thing. So I will take Seattle with the point.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what's going on with the Giants here, but they're 28th in total offense, 28th in passing, which you could, nobody expected a ton of passing yards from Daniel Jones, but then they're also 25th in rushing, right? So it's like something's going on with the offense. I think they get it fixed this week just because they're being criticized. I heard rumors that the offensive coordinator was calling plays and Daboll wasn't. So I think they get that figured out. They get on the same page and they pull off a win here at home for Seattle. Seattle's got the long trip. And look, on the Giants, they have talent everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like they could if they can put it all together, they're going to have a good game at some point. I think it's this Monday night.
There you go. Prime time. That'd be a good time to show up. At home.
At home. Perfect. Cool. Yeah. Be sure to tune in for Anthony's Pick 6. A short clip. He'll break down all of the best bets of the week and get you ready for Sunday. Get a little cash in your pocket.
5-2 last week, by the way. Again, we're winning yet again. We had a lot, barely losing week 2, but 2 5-2 weeks out of 3 so far. That's a great place to be, baby.
Yeah, and if you live in Kentucky, welcome to the show.
Yeah, yes, you can gamble in Kentucky now. We were
Yeah,
just talking about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for tuning in with us.
25th
We'll see you next week. It's the 25th state.
25th state to legalize
Oh yeah, it's
sports
so
betting. Yeah.
fast. It's insane how fast they
Yeah,
got
a
that
couple
through.
years. Yep.
Nuts.
Anyway, thanks for kicking it with us.